You judge Chris Brown, but you are Chris Brown. And one thing I find so interesting about this modern day society that we live in is we're very, very quick to play judge and jury with everybody, as long as when it's things that we haven't done. But yet at the same time, we can acknowledge how we become a victim of society playing judge and jury on everything and making it difficult for any of us to deal with anything. And that's why I think a lot of people are dealing with anxiety. I'm going to be talking about this in this video here today, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. This isn't going to be a video for somebody who just is enjoying tearing down a man or having something to talk about. I wasn't even necessarily going to talk about this because I'm not out here trying to be a tea channel. I don't need to sit here and feel on my high horse commenting on the downfall of others. That's not what this is about. But when I had the thought that we all are Chris Brown, instantly I was like, this is something I want to talk about, because I think what we do in society is we're so quick and wrong. We're so quick to like come in and judge somebody who does something we don't do. So like if you're not a cheater, it's like, oh, cheaters are always cheaters. Like you hear all these phrases, cheaters are always cheaters, abusers are always abusers, because you've never done that. But then if you are somebody who's been historically a liar, you don't want to be known as a liar. You don't want people to be saying liars will always be liars. If you're somebody who's cheated once and you actually genuinely regret it, you don't want people to say cheaters will always be cheaters. You would never say something like that. That's because we were happy to play judge and jury for everybody else, but we don't want anybody to do that towards us. We want everybody to have grace and understanding for us, but we don't have that to share with everybody else. And that's why I'm talking about this. I'm not trying to, listen guys, I want to make this very clear, because I know there's a couple of assumptions people are going to make. Assumption number one is that I'm saying all of this purely just because I'm just a diehard fan of Chris Brown, okay? To be honest with you guys, I make videos about people, whether I'm their fan or not, and positive or negative regardless. I highly criticize actually usually the people that I am a fan of, because it's fair game. Like I'm not out here, guys. My only God is God. Like I don't care for people. I don't care. Like I really don't care. People are human beings. Like no one's better than anybody else. So let's just throw that one out the door. The second thing, what was the second thing? The thing that I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say was I'm not condoning the behavior, because that's the other thing. Just because I don't understand how you trying to be understanding towards something means you condone the behavior. Like when it comes to like addicts, for example, if you're dealing with a drug addict, if I say that just because this person is a drug addict, we should be understanding towards them, we don't equate that to mean that I'm now supporting drug abuse, but somehow it does in scenarios where we choose to, right? So that's my second disclaimer, is that I'm not agreeing with the behavior. I'm saying that the behavior is a sign of a deeper issue that we actually need to deal with. Because this is what I keep saying as well to you guys. The more that we just write people off who do certain things and we don't deal with the root cause, the more it's just going to keep happening. And what that leads to is that's not a good thing, because what then happens is we keep building a society where people only get caught out once they've offended, which means somebody has to have been offended in the first place, which means somebody's going to have to now deal with the trauma and being a victim of that thing. So there's an opportunity for us to actually deal with the thing. Why can't we do that? Because then we're solving it, so then it doesn't have to keep happening. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff, because I'm like, let's talk about why. Let's talk about how. There's so many things about Chris Brown in particular. Like, it's kind of like the video I made about Lil Wayne, right? And I did a whole video about Lil Wayne and how, you know, he sold his soul to the devil at 8, and it was because of Birdman, this, that, and the other. You guys should check it out. And I think it says a lot about, you know, just the life that he's lived since then. I think even with Chris Brown, there's a lot of things about his story that I find, you know, very sad, honestly, and things that I think normal people can relate to. And I think there's people out there who struggle. I think there are people, I'll be the one to go out there and say that I think that there are other people out there who have struggled even in the areas of violence or domestic violence, who want to change but don't know how, right? It's probably as a result of what they've endured in life, right? And they feel stuck, because I feel like that's how a lot of people feel today when it comes to the emotional issues. You might not be somebody, and this is again where I say it's funny how we deal with mental health awareness in society, right? If your mental health issues equal you crying in bed all day, then it's acceptable. If your mental health issues mean that you get angry, that's unacceptable. That's an unacceptable version of a mental health issue. The acceptable one, like even being a drug addict, is like an unacceptable one. People forget that people get onto drugs and get into addictions for a reason. as soon as you're now addicted, a lot of people just write you off like, oh, look at these addicts. And it's like, so that's a not acceptable way of dealing with mental health issues. But other ways, like, I don't know. I can't think of another example, and I can't be bothered to, honestly, because you guys get the point at this point. So that's why I want to talk about this. We are creating a society where we treat people the way that we don't want to be treated. And when that treatment comes back and hits us in the face, it destroys us. And then we're just all destroying each other. And this is what I'm seeing. Like when I see these people sitting on their high horse making these videos talking about Chris Brown is this, Chris Brown is this, Chris. I'm like, you sound so self-righteous. You sound so freaking self-righteous. You mean to tell me that you're perfect in everything you do? You mean to tell me that you've never done things, you've never been a villain in somebody's story? Because I believe that by the time we've all exited this good old planet Earth, we've all been a villain in somebody's story. We've all been in one way or another. And I actually think the people who are doing some serious damage are the ones who are getting away with the invisible crimes, because those are oftentimes are more sinister. You know, the people who are living in, you know, like narcissistic marriages where, you know, the husband or the wife is making themselves look completely innocent all the time. Meanwhile, they're under extreme emotional abuse on a day-to-day basis. They don't even know that's what they're going through because they don't have wounds to show. They don't have bruises on their face to show to anybody, to say for people to say that they're going through something. So they're what they're going through isn't being seen. And then what will society say when society has to play judge and jury because society doesn't take those things as seriously? They'll say, oh, but look, he doesn't mean it. He's just old. It's all these phrases like, they didn't mean it, they're just old-fashioned, or he's just a bit this aggressive, or she's just a bit whatever. Or of course now because we've titled everything, so now people can hide behind titles, right? Oh, she's just got ADHD, he's just got this. And I'm not to say that these things aren't, well, if we're going to be honest, I just think that a lot of these I don't really see these as disorders. I think that the fact that we even thought human beings were supposed to have some kind of a norm in the beginning is ridiculous, because God created us all uniquely individual with our own skills, gifts and talents. So it doesn't matter like to have these titles. Like what value does that actually add to your life to have that type of title, right? It's just about understanding who you are as a person and being able to communicate that with your needs to others and understanding the needs of others, which I'm happy about that part, that people are at least acknowledging it. And for some reason, look again how horrid society is. We would rather believe somebody has to have a diagnosis for us to give them a break, for us to hear them out, for us to give them a chance, than we would just the normal human understanding and care for somebody's experience. And that's what's sad about it, because I even hear people saying stuff like, oh, I'm so grateful for the fact that I've got this diagnosis now, because a lot of these can take ages to happen anyway, right? I'm so glad I've got this diagnosis now, because now I can finally get some support. Now people are actually taking my issues seriously. And it's like, why don't we take people's issues seriously beforehand? Why don't we understand? We're such an we claim, like, this is what's so funny to me. Oh my gosh, I feel so like heated about this right now. It's so funny to me how we, in a society where everything we're doing right now, we're claiming we're doing under the name of love, under the guise of love. Like, oh, let's do this for the love of animals, for the love of humanity, we're just trying to push love in this society. Like, this is hateful. We don't want to have the hateful stuff, but we're like the most hateful, ungraceful society. What's the opposite of grace? I don't know what the opposite of grace is. Like judgmental? I don't know. But you guys get the gist, right? We're like the complete opposite. We're forcing everybody to have to. Why is everybody in therapy? Because they've got nobody to talk to. Because they probably can't even speak up about the things that they've dealt with because of how people will react, right? Why? What was I about to say? I was about to say something really important that I said at the start of the video again. Why are people dealing with so much anxiety? I get it. I get why people deal with anxiety, because the society that we live in now, right? I'm going to do a separate video, by the way, about why depression and anxiety work perfectly hand in hand together. So look out for that video, right? Why are people so filled with anxiety? Because we're in a society where every single thing you do is going to be judged. It's going to be judged. It's going to be critiqued. I was saying this, I've been saying this even about, okay, I'll start with this, because this is the thing that's I've got to make 2 points here to satisfy 2 different types of people, right? So first of all, I was watching this podcast, Diary of a CEO, and he had Cole Sprouse, I think he's Cole, or is he Dylan? I can't remember. And he was on there, and he was basically explaining how he feels for younger actors today, because back in the day, like when you used to have like a movie, because like obviously actors and stuff, like not every, just like musicians, not every song, not every movie, not every TV show is as good as like their best ones. So back in the day, if you had a movie that was trash, it just went to the back of Blockbuster, right? Oh, I missed the days of Blockbuster, by the way. I used to love. Do you know what really upsets me about Blockbuster as well? Because I always used to tell myself I can't wait to have a family and take my kids to Blockbuster. I was so looking forward to doing that, and now there's no Blockbuster, so I'm really upset about that, because I really wanted to like give my kids that like experience of like, let's go to Blockbuster, you know. Anyway, so he was like, but back in those days, you just find the movies like in the back of Blockbuster, no one's like picking it up, and then like that's the end of that. Whereas nowadays, everything's on Netflix, everything's all over online. So as soon as you have one bad performance, whereas that was normal before, and it would just be able to sit behind in the beyond of nowhere in the back of Blockbuster catching, you know, cobwebs. Now people are critiquing you and saying things like, oh, this star has lost his way, he's lost his talent, now he can't perform. And it's like, no, this is normal. This is normal life as a human being. And I said this before, even about how I feel about the younger generations and why I think they actually are having such a young time. They are having a hard time, because now everything they do is being critiqued. They're growing up on social media. So if they're, and now the social media platforms are trying to do like Instagram for 13-year-olds, and TikTok for kids, and YouTube for this. And so kids are now online, and then they're being critiqued by people online, right? So and this is what other generations haven't experienced. Like, I can say that for myself. Instagram came out when I was 16. Right, Facebook, actually, okay, maybe not. Maybe I did grow up a little bit more. Actually, I definitely did grow up a bit more on social media, come to think about it, because I remember being on Facebook at like 13 and stuff, and people, you know, commenting on my appearance and whatnot. So anyway, there you go, as a kid, right? So a lot of people don't know what that's like, you know, in older generations, to have grown up with so much online people with just access to comment on every single thing about you. You know what I'm saying? And it's brutal. Like, sometimes even when I'm looking at people online that I enjoy, it's brutal what people will say. Like, people will be watching somebody will be making a video. It could be a funny video, could be informational, and then there'll be like a top comment, 10k likes, and it will be like, sorry, but I just can't get over how uneven her eyebrows are. You know what I mean? Like, this is a society we live in that's so critiqued. People are going back 10 years trying to find tweets from before. And all of these things that are hurting, we participate, but we are also the victim of them. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I'm not quick to go around and just start calling people titles of, oh, this person's an abuser, this person's a cheater. I don't believe abusers will always abuse. I don't believe cheaters will always cheat. I don't believe liars will always lie. I believe that we have to take accountability eventually, right, for ourselves. I believe we need the Lord in this process to change those characteristics about ourselves. And I believe people can change. I do believe that, right? And whatever type of title you want to give them. There is nothing, and that's also obviously because I believe in God, and I don't believe there's anything more powerful than God. So like, nothing is more powerful than God. Then God can defeat anything that needs to be defeated, if you know what I'm saying. But that's why I'm getting so annoyed about this Chris Brown thing, because we always do this. We sit on our high horses about one thing. And this is another thing, by the way, that we are falling complete victim to the entertainment industry from. Because the entertainment and media, because have you noticed the entertainment and media industries are this is when you can see it right in full view. They'll be so quick to pay attention to one certain individual and push one certain narrative about said individual. But they'll be also so quick to hide certain things about other individuals. Because like I said to you guys, I always talked about R. Kelly in particular, because I personally feel that what R. Kelly did, I can't even, like, R. Kelly's documentary, it was a lot for me. I didn't even finish it, and I usually can finish stuff, but just thinking about seeing the faces of these beautiful young ladies who just had to go through all these experiences. And the thing that got me the most, right, was the amount of adults who were around, the amount of people who could see what was happening. So in a scenario where there's all these adults seeing what's happening, all these people who stayed silent for years until this documentary came out, we're not villainizing any of these people. These people are going off scot-free. When it comes to discussing about R. Kelly, what's the conversation? Well, should we separate the art from the artist? Should we separate the art from the artist? Well, you know what? I like his music from before. Like, I don't know what he was doing at this stage of his life, but at this stage of his life, I feel like he was doing this. And so because he was only doing this, then I'm only going to say this about this, because I'm still going to justify listening to R. Kelly, who was impregnating a 14-year-old girl. Excuse me? And then you want to sit on your high horse, then talking about Chris Brown's an abuser, once an abuser, always abuser. My homeboy was like 17 years old. Like I said, I'm not condoning the behavior. I'm just saying interesting in society how we're so shout out to Selective Activism, shout out to the people who were here in the days of Selective Activism. I have a video entitled Selective Activism and how I believe that, actually I'm going to touch on this here, but you should go watch it. It's half an hour. Sorry, my voice is like drying out from all this talking I've been doing today on YouTube. But so in this video I was saying how I believe that us as people, we are just selective to the things that suit us. Like, it's not that we actually care. Like, I don't think people actually care about Rihanna. I think people just, if you're somebody who doesn't like Chris Brown, he's just an opportunity for you to feel high and mighty. Because whoever else that you support, if they do something that you don't like, if you still want to support them, you're going to justify it. So this isn't about the fact that you care about people. This isn't the fact that you care about Rihanna. This isn't the fact that you're against domestic violence. This is the fact you're still just yet another selfish person, picking and choosing when you get to make yourself into a hero and a good person, and when you don't, and when you want to be understanding and now human and understanding. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't, when people say stuff, I'm like, I don't think you really are as like good as you think you are, because you pick and choose. It's the same thing I always say about people with the climate change stuff. And I love this argument with like people who say, oh, meat eaters are, let's use this one. Let's use the ones who people be like, oh, meat eaters are killing our planet because the cows, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 right? Which is actually ironic to me, because the cows are actually, they exist on this earth. Like, they're there, you know what I mean? Like, they're part of the ecosystem, right? Anyway, but it's like, but you, who's eating an avocado every morning, who lives in, say, somewhere like the United Kingdom, where they don't sell avocados, who's having them flown in to be able to feed all of you various people. Like, there's one guy that I follow on YouTube, and I mean, I'm not against him, but I just find it ironic, okay? Like, I'm not against people, but it's just interesting, right? They'll be upset at somebody saying, like, somebody who's like, says, I've decided to take up hunting, looking for my own animals and whatnot. But you are going to the supermarket, and because you have to sustain this diet, you're buying like exorbitant amount of fruits, all of which are coming from all over the world. Because I don't think goji berries grow where you live right now, or avocados, like I said, or mangoes. They don't grow in the country that you're talking about. So these things are being brought in, and actually, because the demand is so high, it's actually also contributing sometimes to poor working conditions in other countries, because people are trying to save money to be able to make these things more affordable, to be able to push more of this stuff out, right? And then you want to turn a blind eye when we talk about that. You want to turn a blind eye when we're talking about the avocados, but when you're talking about people killing animals, right? Now you're all of a sudden you're the savior. Now you are the messiah. Now, because we're talking about animals. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I said all of this stuff, to me, people are just so selectively active. And people are so selfish, ultimately. It's like the climate change people. Give another perfect example. People be like, oh yeah, I'm all about the climate change and protecting the climate and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, what about all those Amazon orders you be having? What about the fact you're ordering Amazon every other day? And it's coming from all over the world. And you've got all of this cardboard. And then they're like, oh yeah, but it's recycled. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the picking and the choosing. I think the reason why Chris Brown has a career still is because the people who support him are the people who like him and forgave him because they understand him. The people who are against him are just sitting on a high horse, of which they're probably hypocritical to be sitting on, because they probably have other things they overlook from other people that they like. And so that's why it's not about that people care so much about Rihanna. It's not about that people care so much about domestic violence. It's about the fact that, once again, human beings are inherently selfish. And we pick and choose. Now, I just want to clarify, as I'm closing off this video, that, of course, we're all individuals. And that's why it's not a bad thing if you feel convicted about the planet and you've not done everything perfect, or you feel convicted about eating animals and you haven't done everything perfect, or you feel convicted about whatever. I'm not saying that everybody has to get everything perfect. What I'm saying is, let's call a spade a spade. And let's understand that sometimes when we're sitting on our high horse, it's not because we're actually better than or trying to fight for some justice. Sometimes we're just being selfish. Sometimes it's just somebody that we don't like. Sometimes it's just something that we're not interested in. And sometimes, a lot of times, there are other things that we could be paying attention to, that we could be addressing, that we're not. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, how many people in the entertainment industry have been caught out? I mean, even Trey Songz was found out to have been forcing himself onto women right? That's practically why Keke Palmer doesn't have struggled with her career for a while, because she spoke out about it, and then the entertainment industry wanted to destroy her because he's one of the protected ones, you know, from this type of stuff, going back to the media again and picking and choosing who they talk about. So anyways, I'll leave that with you guys. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe if you're feeling the vibe and you want to join the tribe, and like the video, because if life's a game, then let's play to win. God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.